The ultimate death of Bartholomew Kuma is imminent, and when we're talking about some of the best ongoing One Piece plot lines, he's up there. Because Kuma and his daughter Bonnie are about to have some of the biggest One Piece twists ever. For an example, what's the name of Bonnie's devil fruit? We actually don't know the name of it because Oda's hiding it. It seems to be able to age up the surroundings just like the ripe devil fruit, but we know it can't be that devil fruit because we know Shinobu is still alive, and it can't be a smile fruit because Bonnie has shown zero signs regarding animals. The reason why Bonnie's devil fruit is so similar to Shinobu's is because Bonnie's devil fruit is the Toki Toki no Mi, which therefore means that Bonnie has the ability to jump forwards into the future. So with the combination of Kuma and Bonnie's devil fruits, you have the infamous duo of space and time. You're gonna lose your mind when you hear what Toki's awakening is and what Kuma's next move is. But before we jump into that, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to never miss the sickest One Piece theory videos on all of YouTube. A long time ago, a One Piece fan requested Oda to draw the warlords as young children. Oda did actually complete this, and he managed to draw every single warlord, including Kuma. For the depiction of Kuma, we can see that he's a young kid with some wood on his back while holding and reading a book. Now this is strikingly similar to that of Ninomiya Sontoku. This was a Japanese man who was a famous philosopher in the 19th century. There's numerous statues of him in Japan that feature him holding a book while carrying some lumber on his back. It's the exact same depiction as young Bartholomew Kuma. Now Sontoku was actually an agriculturist for the country of Japan. He lost his kids when he was a young boy, but through hard work and diligence, he rebuilt his fallen family at the age of 20. Later, he rebuilt approximately 600 villages and became a shogunate retainer. When I hear all of this information about Sontoku, it makes me think about the history and the life of Bartholomew Kuma, because we know he's a member of the Revolutionary Army, sure, but we also know that he was labeled as a tyrant leader. Now, I don't actually believe that title to be true. I think it's going to be a complete lie fabricated by the world government. Anytime we've seen Kuma make some kind of action, especially when it has to do with the Straw Hats, it's generally helping people, is generally good. So it makes sense that Kuma is the king of the country as it relates to Sontoku being a shogunate. Another thing we know about Sontoku is he taught all types of people the ways of agriculture, and he was able to feed many people. Knowing that Kuma comes from a country called sorbet and sorbet is related to food, I think this ties into the history of Sontoku, meaning that I believe Kuma is at least partially based on Sontoku. Kuma probably had a really rough upbringing as well, and he was probably starving in his home country. He was probably at one point captured by the celestial dragons, as we saw recently, but he most likely broke out and escaped, and he was able to teach his country the ways of agriculture just like Sontoku. So now the current state of Kuma is basically being manipulated by the world government. They manipulated and destroyed his brain, they're lying about him, they are trying to erase and destroy Kuma. Oda's having villains throw all this dirt on Kuma's name because Oda's getting ready to kill Kuma. We saw recently, as of chapter 1071, Kuma actually leaves Dragon and makes his way to the Red Line. One may argue that if Kuma's goal was to go into an island in the New World, he would have to approach the Red Line regardless. So technically on that front, you can't prove if Kuma's going to Marijua or an island in the New World. But through context clues, I'll deliver you guys an argument proving that Kuma's going to Marijua. Earlier on in the story, when Blackbeard ran into Bonnie and captured her, we saw that Akainu showed up out of nowhere and actually crashed the party. He ends up having a conversation with Bonnie and reveals that she's been escaping multiple times. One may argue that she's a pirate with a bounty, a supernova, that's a good reason to capture her, but I think in the writing of a shonen manga by Oda, the reason why Akainu really wanted to capture Bonnie is mostly because of Kuma. We know that Kuma was once a warlord, so it would make sense why there would be a connection between him and the Marines, or at least him and Akainu. So him having this anger towards Bonnie because of Kuma would be reminiscent of Akainu having anger towards Ace because of Roger. But I believe Oda is setting up an inversion between Bonnie and Ace in the story. Allow me to explain. We know that Akainu hated Roger, so he killed his son Ace. It seems like Akainu hates Bonnie, but he's not really in the vicinity of Bonnie right now, nor do I think that Oda would kill off Bonnie. I believe the inversion here is at first Akainu killed a child, but now he's gonna kill a parent. So it's not that I think Kuma's necessarily gonna come to Egghead, it's just I think he's gonna die helping Bonnie in some kind of way. It's very thematic and very common when a parent dies in a show or a story and it ends up helping their child or predecessor. And that would cement Kuma as a legend, the late Revolutionary Army member with a space devil fruit. Speaking about devil fruits, do we even know what Bonnie's devil fruit is? For some reason, Oda has not given out the name of her devil fruit, and I find that to be a red flag. At this stage in the game, chapter almost 1100, the only excuse you would have for not giving Bonnie's devil fruit an actual name yet is because it's gonna matter to the story and it's gonna be used as a plot device. Now hang on to that. Bonnie's devil fruit is gonna be used as a plot device. Now I'm gonna explain what Bonnie's devil fruit actually is, and you're gonna see what I mean by used as a plot device. Whenever Bonnie's activating her devil fruit powers on people, people, she could make them young, which is basically her manipulating time because that's how we measure people's age. We also know that Bonnie can make people much older, which again is just her manipulating time. We've also seen Bonnie make objects rust and brittle, which is again her manipulating time. Now, I believe we've seen enough of Bonnie's devil fruit to put it under the category of time. Now, when I say category, I'm not talking about Zoan, Paramecia, or Logia. I'm talking about how there's generally 2 devil fruits at a time that work in pairs. They're generally the same type of power, but one is superior to the other. I'll actually give you guys a list of some pairs in devil fruits so you can get a better understanding of what I'm talking about. We know that Monet's snow devil fruit is the weaker version of Aokiji's ice devil fruit. We also know that Sabo's fire fruit is the weaker version of Akiinu's magma fruit. Now, in this case, I'm arguing that Shinobu's ripe fruit is the weaker version of Toki's time devil fruit. Now, carefully and easily analyzing Bonnie, it's very clear to say that she never ate a smile fruit. Those are generally Zoan devil fruits, and we've never seen Bonnie in any kind of animalistic state. And we've never seen her mention Wano. She doesn't have these hysterical laughs. It's safe to say that Bonnie did not eat a smile devil fruit. We also have the fact that Shinobu was last shown alive. This was during the Wano arc, despite the fact that we saw Bonnie at Sabaody Island. So now we can eliminate 2 of our 3 options. She didn't eat a smile fruit, and she didn't eat the ripe fruit. The one and only other option is that Bonnie ate the Toki no Mi. Now, do you see what I mean? If Oda was to come out and confirm that she does have this legendary fruit, the Toki no Mi, Oda would do it in a very grandiose way. I'm sure Oda would create a situation where Bonnie's in a life or death situation, and her awakening triggers, which is her jumping forwards in time to escape. Like if the Toki no Mi had an awakening to begin with, I'm very sure it's going to be the time jump ability. That type of power being at the base of a devil fruit seems very strange and inconsistent to me. So now if you take a step back and you think about Bonnie and everything regarding her devil fruit attached to the phrase of Toki no Mi, it all makes sense. She's been altering people and her surroundings because of that devil fruit. And one of the best parts about this is it finally answers the age-old question of where did Toki's devil fruit go? And since you now know this because of me, drop a like on the video. But yeah, to summarize, Bonnie's devil fruit's going to be based on time because she has the Toki no Mi. So therefore, Kuma and Bonnie alter space-time together. And that's almost as thematic as Luffy and Ace's connection. Because when you think about Ace, he was in control of fire and he had a sun-based attack, while Luffy has Red Rock and he's the sun god. So I think Kuma will most likely die for his daughter, so it would make sense why he's depicting their relationship like this. First, we see that Bonnie implies that her father's at Marijua, then we see her at Egghead, and then she confirms that Kuma's her father. This is all happening right now because Kuma's going back to where he once came from, slavery, and this was something that I found truly heartbreaking about Kuma. In his mini flashback that Bonnie saw, Kuma was being enslaved and beaten. He was even branded and marked by the Celestial Dragons, just like Boa Hancock. But I have one question about that flashback, one question that really needs to be answered. What is that location? What is that island? I believe it was God Valley. If you think about God Valley, we knew that they had Celestial Dragons there and they also had slaves. Looking at Kuma's age, he would be a young boy during the time of this flashback and during the time of God Valley. So maybe Oda will create a scenario in the story where Kuma and Garp are having flashbacks to God Valley at the same time. But what's going to make it stellar is that Kuma and Garp are going to have 2 different perspectives. I have a video about this, the link is at the top right of the screen right now, but we know that Garp is at Hachinosu fighting the Blackbeard pirates and he's clearly outnumbered. You can argue that he has sword members with him, but are we really going to put them above the Blackbeard pirates? Blackbeard and his crew have always been hyped as being one of the final bosses. I think them losing to new sword characters would actually damage the hype regarding the Straw Hat Pirates versus the Blackbeard Pirates. But I think that fight with Garp is going to result in him dying. So someone like Dragon would not only lose their own right-hand man, but also his father. And this is going to kickstart the final war that changes all of the One Piece world. Now, Kuma dying would be very heartbreaking, but I do think there would be some good things that come out of this. For an example, I think this would motivate and propel Bonnie into greatness. We might not know her goals outside of meeting her father Kuma, but she has to have some. She gets along with Luffy, she relates to Luffy, and she has an amazing backstory and motivation so far, and we know that her father's connected to Luffy. So Bonnie joining the Straw Hats can help her get back at the world government for what they did to her father. Bonnie also hasn't really been shown with her crew, so it's not really like she'd be losing that much on that front. And there's generally a recruiting process when Luffy brings in new people anyways. First, a situation will arise where someone new's needed. Then Luffy ends up battling a boss type of character while the new crewmate fights an underling. Then the new crewmate has their backstory and dreams revealed. And finally, Luffy's current crew is battling against enemies that match up with each Straw Hat. Now that's a general framework as to how new members come to join the crew. But it doesn't apply to the female members Nami and Robin. Both of them never really helped fighting an enemy during their joining, and they both had their backstories revealed much later on, on despite initially being hinted at. Now that you understand the basic recruiting process, let's break it down and compare it to Bonnie. To start, we know that both Saturn and Kizaru are going to Egghead, and it's safe to say that one of them's gonna fight Luffy, I think the boss. So based off the first step in the process, we're on track. Usually the crewmates' dreams are revealed when they join, but since Bonnie's a girl, she might be like Robin and Nami and reveal it later. I could see Oda blueballing fans even further, making us wait forever for the Kuma flashback, so the second one is fine. Finally, we know that there's over 100 warships coming to Egghead, along with 4 vice admirals and God knows how many seraphim. I think this is a case where all of the Straw Hats are going to get their own personal matchup with an enemy. So right now, on paper, it would make sense if Bonnie joined the crew. And I think Luffy's eventually going to ask her to join because of all the bonding they have been doing so far. But don't forget, all of these events are triggering because we have entered Marineford War 2.0. Garp is going to Hachinosu and Kuma's going to Marijua. 2 legends who are most likely at God Valley are now going to die. But I do believe this is going to help Bonnie in some kind of way because this is Kuma's final gift.